Hi, and welcome to the Art Life video blog. This is day 96, and I am Robert Blanchard with CoreVibes. And this is
My name is Jacob Wolf. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Robert, for having me in your home.
pleasure.
Thank you for just meeting me. This is great.
Yeah, the opportunities is super grateful.
So you are a painter
Mm-hmm.
and a musician. Which came first?
I'd have to say more than likely the painting probably, or drawing, just kind of penciling and stuff, and kind of into more of the abstract type of art, a little on the darker side back in high school. And from there, kind of separated from art for probably almost, I'd say 6-8 years, and came about the age of 24. Got back into wire wrapping stones actually, and like just was really kind of fond of the energy behind crystals. Felt that there was definitely an ambient field of some sort that was not necessarily tangible, I guess, but like there was some presence that I felt in common with, and the energy was calming, cooling, and soothing, and started to kind of just work with that. And I just was fascinated by finding specific stones with specific shapes that complemented the area of the body where you might have a pendant, and so I kind of just favored that with different types of wire, and just working with cost. It was copper for the longest time, and that will definitely isn't the most forgiving metal when it comes to mistakes. You can't exactly back up the tracks. It kind of it'll break on you real easy, so it tends to really like train you, makes for getting it down, very quick. And I'd say probably about 4 or 5 years of doing wire wraps and jewelry wraps, I kind of just was attracted to this whole resin, casting thing with this orgone energy thing that I've been working with now, where it's a composition of resin crystals and metal. And basically the idea is with the metal you can attract ambient frequencies, kind of like say, I always like to use this example, like you have like rabbit ears on an old television, and if you have say TV signal back in the day, which we don't these days anymore, but you have like somebody with like maybe a metal plate in their head. They walk in front of the TV and maybe the home base of the signal, and they might deviate or attract that ambient signal from the radio station, into their head. It's mostly just an example that like metal anywhere can attract like ambient frequencies in the air. And basically with that being said, like the metal inside the resin is kind of tracks it into the resin, and the crystal, being the quartz crystal, and it's like known duty as like a heartbeat of the resonant of the earth. It kind of constantly carries a rhythm. Being compressed in the resin creates what they call a piezoelectric effect, and it just kind of, I guess, turbocharges the crystal with inside this resin, this polyester resin, which is kind of like a curing process that happens basically when the resin is a liquid state. It's kind of like malleable. It's able to be affected by tones and frequencies, or anything in the air. So I take that time, and I will introduce different harmonic tones and frequencies that have been kind of studied and known through what they call water cymatic patterns, where you get like these really amazing flowers and mandala. They call them mandala patterns that can happen, and different tunements of these tones into the. They've done either sand plates and water. Water is the two things where they can actually kind of notice the actual field of frequency being induced to any type of medium. That's the most present, where they've these really beautiful patterns will appear. And
I was just watching videos on that. I had never heard of this, but I swear it was like 2 days ago.
Right?
That the first time I saw the sand on the plate with the frequencies.
Yeah, that's one that I'll definitely like to kind of share with a lot of my friends, because it's so like it's just so direct, and for me that was the one thing that was like, oh, it kind of hit home base. I was like, our body's made of pretty much 95% water, or whatever they say, and so usually any tone or frequency is going to have some type of effect maybe. And I've always been attracted to the harmonics of like singing bowls and Tibetan bowls and stuff, and just they have this real like just ability to go like through your nature, and then with that being said, I decided to do a little more studying on just tones and frequencies, and like the whole Beethoven thing and Mozart. They say that like babies while in the womb very you know, it's a good thing apparently. You know, it really soothes their being or whatever, and that's like whole thing with Beethoven. I think was the 432 harmonic frequency, which is basically if most people are familiar with a guitar tuner, they you know you're comes standardized in a 440 setting, and there's a debate on why that is, you know, but 440 and 432, when those two frequencies are played into water, 440 isn't necessarily bad. It's just really busy. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's really intense, and 432 is really rounded and soft on the edges, and it's really beautiful flower. So I decided to engage in that kind of idea of just what's going on here. You know, it's like is there something going on, and then did more research and things like the pyramids. There's you know the harmonics within the pyramids of Giza, and the same angles as the quartz crystal. You know, the tip of a spear. I believe it's 53.8 degrees. I could be wrong, but yeah, there's this. There's definitely this correlation between the sun and the earth and the moon and the earth with the harmonic 432. There's just a lot of things that kind of like broke wind to me, and then also I'm a didgeridoo player, so I feel like it's just you can only play like one note out of that instrument, and it's like if it's not quite the right note, you might start to feel it after a while, but I don't know. So I decided to pick up one that was tuned into C sharp, and it's kind of interesting. When you say C sharp, it's literally like you can start to see clearer when you start resonate. When C sharp is the resonant note of the planet, and then C level is the same as C level or whatever. It's the same as the C, and it kind of all resonates like our sacral solar plexus would be like your liquid, you know, water, and then earth is obviously down below by your feet, up to your root chakra, and then you're gonna work into the air, and then fire is up in creation where you're it's kind of like the pyramid tip is, you know, that's where the source energy comes from. And sometimes they've switched that, you know, the fire on the water and different dogmas and stuff, and created steam, I guess is kind of the whole idea is like a metaphor, like you switch those two like elements within the teachings, you know, of colors and stuff and sounds and stuff, and create like kind of like this subconscious like frustration or whatever. That's kind of interesting. I don't know. It's like all these deeper meanings I'm learning about just like notes and frequencies, and just like where, because it's one thing in common with like religion and spirituality and all these old like buildings, and like they think a lot of the pyramids maybe were used with the levitation of sound was used to, you know, bring some of these bricks to formation and whatnot, and not to mention the perfect laser cut edges on some of them, you know, down the especially by Palenque in Peru and stuff. Some of that stuff is beyond mind-blowing. But yeah, that's one thing I've always been kind of fascinated, even in, you know, during 6th grade or whatever, I got in trouble for like drawing the pyramids or whatever in class, and I was like, I was just like so fascinated with them for some reason, even though I'd never been there, but it felt like maybe in some past life I'd had some experience with them. But whether or not they are a form of like you know, like a crystalline generator, they're made to generate energy, and just the angles, they just favor the harmonics of nature, and that's kind of interesting. Like I've just always been attracted to it, and one thing that they kind of noticed with orgone energy, the resin crystal metal matrix I was talking about, is during that compression effect with like a quartz, especially the Lemurian seed quartz crystal, puts off quite an ethereal beam, you know, coming off of the top of the pyramid under the Carillion photography, which is kind of crazy. It's that's one thing that really kind of confirmed it for me. I was like, oh whoa, we're actually getting like some energetic feedback off these crystals and stuff. And went down to this place in Sedona, Arizona, and they had like this super crazy military grade Carillion photography instrument that we were able to, like, you know, my mother and we both went and kind of sat on it and resonated with it and got completely different crazy readings. She had like all these rainbow colors. I had like a deep red coming from me, and I was like, oh, what does that mean? You know, is it just really rude or whatever? It's like, it just could mean old soul or whatever. It could mean different things. And the ladies all telling me to get into, you know, singing and or something like that. And I was like, I don't feel like I'm a singer, you know. But then I literally picked up the didgeridoo, like, you know, a couple months later, you know, and just got in the idea of just doing either just crazy noises through the didgeridoo or just, yeah, beatboxing kind of thing. But it's a different form of singing, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it's just a passion of mine. Is just finding this idea of like attunement and resonance. It's been a lot of studies going on about it lately online too, and been really attracted to it. It's just it seems to be something said, like in even the harmonic of the frequency of the most fluorescent lighting and lighting coming out of any house in America anyways is going to be set at 60 hertz, and they even say it on some of the new TVs, 60 hertz, and it's like it literally hurts if it's not tuned right. It's like 60 is like it was like 40 and like 19.965, like some of those are like really beautiful, harmonic patterns that we could like be saturating from the light fields above, like which is right above our crown chakra and everything. And it might be kind of an Eastern philosophy, but I truly believe that like if our light field is artificially affected above our heads on a constant, regular basis, people could definitely be a little more susceptible to being ill, and canceling out that very subtle field of the Schumann resonance from the Earth frequency they say can fluctuate from 7.83 hertz to 13 is maybe as high as 15 hertz as we go through these different galactic changes that are happening. Like they're saying, it's been like going up to like 10 hertz or whatever and stuff. There's like instruments that can kind of measure like the wave, the Gaia or the heartbeat of the Earth. It's kind of interesting. Even the guys when they fly in NASA ships and go into the moon, if they go to the moon and even out to space for more than a month or whatever, they kind of need this device that produces that same heartbeat, within the ship, so their immune system recognizes like that Earth kind of frequency. Just kind of something that like blew my mind. I was like, oh, yeah. Because I know they have to, eat a lot of these supplements and do a lot of other things to simulate like they're being on Earth and obviously moving their body too, But yeah, it's I don't know. I feel like frequency is definitely something that's overlooked, and not to mention the whole cell phone thing is just like even crazier. We got some phones with more frequencies coming out of them now, and just obscene. Basically, if you could take an audible frequency detector and hear the speaker sound of the frequency when your phone is constantly looking for a signal, it's like it would probably make you vomit. It's just like it just sounds like a cat in a blender or something. It's just gotta like, it's really crazy. It's but yeah, there's this video I recommend everybody to watch. It's called Resonance Beings of Frequency, speaking of us as beings of frequency and how we might be affected by frequency, and it goes into people living under cell phone towers and having all these really radical effects of cancer, and I mean there's definitely a blindness to it in this country, unfortunately. There's this company, the FCC, that monitors your radio waves and this and that. They say they haven't found consistent and evaluatable enough problems with these cell phones, where this private company, ICN, RP, they independently funded, and they basically get like amazing, crazy results on like what's acceptable to the human brain. They show like military grade personnel was 6 feet tall with like like the skull thickness, of a full adult 30 years old, and they imagine having your baby white noise app going on with a wireless internet like right next to their very thin skull. It's like I don't know, this video opened up a whole lot of disgusting kind of like realities about like what they're not telling us and how much we should truly be around our cell phones and what's healthy. And I know pretty much all my friends have their cell phone pretty much in their pillowcase to like wake them up, and it's probably got the wireless internet going on, the Bluetooth and all these different things. It's like I do it all the time too, but it's just like the awareness of it should be like, oh, just like put your cell phone maybe like at least 15 feet away from you before you go to bed. Don't have a wireless laptop like right by your face before you go to bed. Like your dream time is the most subtle time when those fields are like just like you're completely submitted. It's like everything's like coming into your body, and that's one thing I really feel like I'll just set that stuff aside a little bit. But I don't know, this video like it seriously kind of opened up a whole bunch of crazy stuff that really like kicked my passion into this whole orgone science into overdrive, and then I kind of take it into an artistic reality. Like this, for instance, is a resin dome, which has a very awesome transmutable energy. Aside from the pyramid has like these kind of direct function, but it works with the cardinal points as well. But this one is just a dome where I used got a little mushroom in there, and then there's the copper coil that kind of directs energy both ways. They call it a Mobius flow coil. And but there's, you kind of see like the pattern in here. There's like get a little close there. Yeah, you'll see like they call it the flower life pattern underneath the